I do not expect the situation in Syria to collapse. I think that the current situation where Iranian-backed militias harass and bother American military bases will continue. But Washington, the Biden administration, does not want to fight a big war with Iran. And I think that Iran also wants to avoid a major war with the United States. Oh, I think it is important for people in northeastern Syria to understand that Washington has its own agenda. The Washington agenda is about fighting the Islamic State, Daesh. The Washington agenda is not to help establish an autonomous region in eastern Syria. Washington is not prepared to fight a war to create an autonomous region. The Turkish-American relationship is extremely complicated. There are American interests that go outside of Syria with Turkey. Most important would be Ukraine right now, but there are other interests as well, the Black Sea and NATO. And so Washington is always balancing its relations with Turkey. The problem of Syria is a factor in American relations with Turkey, but it is not the only factor. I think what we should be watching most carefully of all is the border region between Israel and Lebanon. It is possible that a major escalation would occur between Hezbollah and Israel, and it is easy to imagine that after a war starts in southern Lebanon, Iran would encourage its allies in Iraq and Syria to escalate in a major way against the American bases in Syria and Iraq. But the first thing to watch is the border between Israel and Lebanon. The problem the Americans have is that they have attacked the militias many times over the last 3 years with the Biden administration. They carried out a major raid, for example, in Iraq 1 month ago and killed about 8 Iraq militia members from a group associated with Iran, Hezbollah. And they killed more in a strike earlier this week. So, but it does not deter Iran. And the choice then is whether the Americans accept a small level of harassment or if they escalate in a major way, it will be impossible for them to destroy the militias in Iraq and Syria. Iran can always rebuild the militias. And so the Americans are in an uncomfortable position. The future of Gaza is a big question, but I would say two things. First, even if Israel succeeds in reducing Hamas's military capabilities, there still will not be a peace agreement between Israel and the Palestinians. There will continue to be problems, for example, in the occupied territories, the West Bank, and even in Gaza, we could expect small-scale insurgency. And at the same time, harassment of American bases in Iraq and Syria will continue because Iran ultimately does not want American military forces in Syria or in Iraq. If the American forces withdraw from Syria and Iraq, of course, it will benefit in military terms, Iran and also the Syrian government in Damascus. But the Syrian government in Damascus is very weak, and it cannot control even Homs province from ISIS. And similarly, in Iraq, Prime Minister Soudani is interested in finding some kind of an agreement with the Kurdish regional government. And so what will happen if American forces withdraw is there will be negotiations between Erbil and Baghdad, and there will be negotiations between Qamishlo and Damascus about what kind of governance will go forward in the future.